That's probably close enough to 0. Let's get this show on the road. Do, 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 do. Boom. Hello. Welcome. Oops, got captions on my end. There we go. Welcome to Feiza Data. We're doing a little Makeover Monday live today. Good to see you all here. If you're tuning in live, feel free to say hello in the chat. It should look something like this up on Lay live stream. It all shows up. So if you want to be a part of the VOD and the memories, say hi. Would always love to hear from you. I'm not used to talking to myself in my room, so I'm going to try and get more comfortable with that. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into Makeover Monday for the week. I have tried as hard as I can throughout the course of this week to not look at the data set and the things that people are making. It's difficult. I love looking at them when people tag me on LinkedIn, but I do know for sure that the data set is on UFO sightings. That's mostly everything that I know. I've seen a couple of the dimensions, just being honest, but I haven't downloaded it, haven't played with anything. And the goal is to pull something together here in right about an hour. So let's go ahead and get started here. We've got one file for this week. I'm going to go ahead and pull that down here. And let's go ahead and boot up Tableau. Grab 2026.1 is what I'm using right now. We've got some activity in the chat, which is awesome. Hi, Matt. Hi, Anna. Good to see both of you. Perfect. And now let me actually switch this over to a slightly bigger screen here. Quick little maintenance. Nice. All right. That should do the trick. It's a little bit small. If you guys want to let me know too in the chat, if this is like painfully small, I can try to resize this and get us to a spot where things look good. But I'm going to start working because I have an hour. And it's worth noting, this probably won't be the prettiest dashboard you've ever seen because Rome was not built in an hour. But I'm going to see what I can do. So let's see. We've got a posted date and probably a date of a UFO spotting. This is a time field, so you'll notice Tableau defaults. If it's just giving you a timestamp, it defaults to the year 1899. So these two fields can be combined to give us a date time. We've got city, state, shape of the UFO, I'm assuming, the duration of the spotting, and then we've got some summary context. And then we've got image links. Very fun. So one thing I want to start off with is I want to see how these images look inside of Tableau, and if I can do something with them without putting much effort in. So if I go to this, okay, Matt said it's a little bit small, but fine for now. Okay, we will workshop that if we need to. I'm going to take this image link column here, and I'm going to immediately convert this to an image role and make that URL. And this will take some time to load in, so that's why I want to start off there. I'll let this think for a little bit while I go and explore this data set a bit. So we've got, 1,300 UFO spottings. And I'm curious about the date side of things here. I don't know how much data we're working with, so I'm going to take this date field. And okay, so we've got some history. This is going back. Let me format this workbook and make the font a little bit bigger across the board here. Something like that should be better. So off the bat, we've got data all the way back to 1975. Throw these counts on text, but not a lot of it. Okay. It looks like the bulk of our data is going to be 2019, 2020. Really, 2022 is a huge spike, which is quite interesting. That's not the chart type that I was looking for. Okay, very fun. So a lot of this tail, I don't really care too much about. I'm a little bit curious to see what kind of shapes we have on that tail. Disc circle unknown. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I am very curious to see what people are reporting for these UFOs. Cigar spotting in the sky. That's interesting. Um, okay, so we start to get a little bit of diversity here as we move forward. Now I'm kind of curious if we look at like a heat map of maybe like 2019 to 2023, and I plot that against my shape. What do we have here? Just kind of exploring the data set a little bit, getting a feel for, and obviously this isn't a perfect heat map, but getting a feel for what we've got in this data set is useful. So circles been seen all years, cylinder, diamond, disc. Okay, lots of different shapes here to play with. If there isn't at least one mothership shape, I'm going to be disappointed. You and me both, David. You and me both. And it looks like there isn't a declared mothership, but maybe we've got that in circle or something here. Um, Perfect. All right, I'm going to duplicate this. I want to take a look at some of the other dimensions we have. If I click this view data button, I just want to take a peek one more time at what we're working with. So we've got statewide metrics. So we can maybe throw this on a map really quick and see if there's anything that immediately jumps out at us by state. Alaska's going to be a problem for me here. We're going to exclude this for the time being. And Hawaii as well for now. We'll come back to those guys. And then let's take our count and throw that on color. And yeah, immediately we start to see it looks to correlate pretty heavily with population density. Just eyeballing that off the bat with California being a dark blue, Florida being a dark blue, which I guess is a little bit um, not following that trend. Illinois is a little bit darker. Texas is a little bit darker. Interesting. Okay. I'd like to dig into that maybe a little bit more. What if we layer state into the or city into this as well? And make these dots a little bit bigger. Make these circles and maybe lower the opacity a bit. Mm, Halo is making them look fuzzy. Add a white border. Okay, so big cities are obviously going to be the source of most spottings. That generally makes sense. Tucson, Phoenix, San Diego's got 7, Sacramento. Okay, so a map could be an angle here, something to consider. I'm just taking the first few minutes here to kind of explore the data set and look for the story that we want to run with because I don't have one. Oh, we have this population field, which I assume correlates with um, the city. So let me just confirm that really quick. If I take city onto the view and I drag our population on, and let me actually do population as a dimension just to see if we have any fan out here. So in the bottom corner, which you guys definitely can't see with this overlay, I'm seeing 1011 marks. If I take off population, seeing 951. So there is a little bit of like Albany here has two different records, uh, quite different records for that matter. One of them is 66,000, one of them is 604,000. Auburn has a wide spread of population, which tells me maybe I'm not interpreting this field correctly. I certainly don't believe that's the number of people that reported a UFO, because that would be crazy. But what this does tell me is I don't know if I want to use this field population. I don't feel comfortable using it if I don't understand what it is showing. So I am just going to hide this from my data set. I am not a fan of that field. Uh, Add in state, Matt. You genius. Do, 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 do. That is, I think, exactly what's going on. With the exception of one record, but it's probably just zero. Um, you're probably onto something there. Where's my record with two? We want, here, I'll just do this. Drag these here for now. Liberty, PA has two records. Let's see what we are working with. Dimension. Okay, interesting. Liberty, Pennsylvania, 231 and 2,230 for populations. What's the date on these? Both 2021. Discrete, same day, same spotting perhaps. What does the time look like for this? Shape, time. Okay, so these two guys look to be just about the same here. Same time, different population. What else is going on here? 10 to 20 minutes. Duration's a fun one. That's something that I want to play around with a little bit, actually. Let me see duration. Oh, it's going to be a nice string field, though. It will not be super fun to play with. 1.5 hour, then tired. 1.5 hours, one frame. Do. Awesome. Scanning the chat for a second, too. Thank you, Ojo. Matt says, wonder if that was bad coding for population and liberty. Could be. Um, oh, interesting, David. I did not know that after the Great UFO invasion, Liberty, PA was reduced to ashes. Very interesting. Um, that's quite mysterious. Okay. This feels like a rabbit hole that's going to take me more than an hour to clean up and parse. We could do some string calculation where we look for, if these different values contain min or contain hour or HRS. I mean, it's not going to take us long, so let's play around with it and see how close we can get. I'll just call it duration parsed, and we'll just say, make this bigger. If duration, if duration contains min, and I'll go ahead and make this a lower to make sure that if there's like a capital M in minute, we'll account for that as well. We'll just, this is not going to be great though, because if it's like an hour and 30 minutes, we're going to run into an issue. If it contains hour or if it contains hour, because we know that, I mean, I'm making an assumption here, but most likely if it's 0 hours and 30 minutes, they won't specify the word hour in the string. So I could probably say 1+ hours. And then we'll say else if contains min. And we're going to validate that this is working, by the way. I'm not just running with this and hoping for the best. Less than 1 hour. And then we'll just say unknown for now. Unknown to me, that is. And we have an error. I'm missing an identifier. There's two thens. And let's see what this looks like. So 1+ hours, 1.5 hour, then tired. Feel that one. Story of my life. 9 p.m. through 2 a.m. That's not supposed to be in there. Um, okay. Plus or minus an hour, a few hours, about an hour. Been sitting for 1 hour. It's kind of cracked me up. A minute approximately. 1 minute pause to take a picture. I love people. 1 to 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. All right. What I'm seeing here is something that might be fun to play around with and parse, but I don't have the time for that right now. So I will save that journey as an exercise for the reader. We're going to skip out on duration for right now. Maybe we'll put that in the tooltip for some of our marks, but I don't think it makes sense to bin our data like that. Cool. So we've got a map. What we haven't looked at, we looked at the dates a little bit. I'm curious to see like time of day, if that's a factor here. So let's make this entire view. We've got hours 0 through 23, and we can even cross that with our years. And let's just make a quick little heat map. Let's take year off for a moment. Okay, so this actually looks kind of like what I was expecting to see here. Um, Later in the day is where you have a more dense number of spottings of UFOs, which checks out, right? Because a lot of the times you see in movies and just in general, UFOs appearing kind of over a dark sky. Maybe it's because people aren't looking up at the sky as much when the sun is out. I'm actually really curious to see what some of these daytime hours UFO sightings look like and if there's any like geographic pattern there. So let's flip hour this way, and I'm gonna say what? Maybe starting at like hour 19 or 7 p.m. We'll just call this. I'm gonna make a group here. Group, hello. Let me make this a field. Create a calculated field. Hour of spotting. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll make that a dimension and throw that up here. So now anything that happened from 11 p.m., well, yeah, we'll do 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll group those and we'll just say 7 to 11 p.m. You need to go down there. Anything from 6 to, I don't know, maybe 1 to 6. I'm just making some arbitrary bins here. Edit alias 1 to 6 p.m. This is like our morning block here. So we'll go ahead and do 8 to 12. Do. And then we'll call this whole block just like, what are you doing awake at these hours? Spottings. Midnight to 7 a.m. Okay. Now, if we were to take these different spottings, and what if we grab that map from before? And now we add that group field that I just made. Is there any patterns where, like, specifically for the people that are spotting UFOs from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in like the morning? Where's that happening? It's kind of the same hotspots that we saw before. Uh, Arizona again is showing up. Dallas is showing up. Some Indiana action in the early mornings. Is that how the original map looked as well? No. Well, now that makes me curious about the state of Indiana because that kind of breaks trend. What does just the state of Indiana look like? Let's explore. I could explore myself to death. Um, but let's take a look. Let's look at the different cities in Indiana. Let's again grab our hour of day groupings. which are not sorting well. So we're going to just default properties sort, and I'll just tune these up really quick. So we have midnight to 7, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., 1 to 6 p.m., 7 to 11 p.m. Let's make these circles, make them a little bigger so we can see them better. And let's throw some color on. Okay, so we're just looking at a very small number of records, it looks like, in Indiana. Okay, this is less interesting than I thought. We've just got 2 here. What was I seeing? Okay, fair enough. I guess there just aren't that many spottings at this hour of the day, which would make sense. Okay, awesome. Well, that's not as fun as I thought. I am most intrigued by binning like this, and potentially giving these better names. So this would be something like early before 8 a.m. You belong up there, my friend. This would be something that's like start of day, uh, 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. This would be afternoon, 1 to 6 p.m. And this would be evening, 7 to 11 p.m. Awesome. Now let's flip this once more. You know what would be fun if I had more than like 40 minutes, is doing something where we took year, and maybe the different hours of the day, and we made like a radial chart. Um, Put that on top of like a big UFO image. You kind of had like, just a big radial chart showing the spottings over time. I could try to do something like that. I've got time. I'm gonna cheat and go to a past uh, Makeover Monday visualization I did, to grab some calculations. But that could be something cool to look at. Where the heck is it? This is what I'm thinking. So if we did something similar to this visualization, where we had all of our different years radiating outwards, and different hours of the day going around, we could essentially apply filters for things like state, or control the years that we have in the view, and play around like that. Let me sign in really quick, because I'm going to try and do this through server here, and we're going to see how this goes. Let's see how good my documentation was, on these calculations. Hopefully it's not too bad. Nice. I numbered them. How awesome is that? So I've got this calculation 1. Let me group these by folder really quick. This is a best practice that I have adopted, is making a 00 data source folder and dropping all of the native fields in there, and then doing something like O1 calcs, and then having my calculations fall into there. Fixed. So what are we doing here? For every year, day, 360 for all the different days. So for every year, we're taking 360 divided by, I had to densify. Nah, this is going to be harder than I want it to be. Never mind. Forget it. We're going to do something simple. Okay. Let me see the data one more time. City, date, duration, hour spotting, hour spotting. Did those images ever load in, by the way? That's a thought from. No. Awesome. Goodbye, image link. Hide you for now. Probably forever. So we've just got a bunch of locations, dates, and time of day. So yeah, let's stick with the time of day route that we were heading before. We will grab our hour of spotting, and we will grab our thinking. What is the big picture plan here? Hour of spotting, and maybe just year. And we could even make these just percent of total values instead of hard counts. It could be interesting. We edit this table calc, percent of total. If we just do this across everything, what do we get? Format this as a percentage. Okay, so these are all zeros down here with the exception of 2019. So I'm gonna just keep these because that's where a bulk of our data is. And now with what we have in the view, it's exactly what I wanted. Um, this just feels a little bit misleading to me because what happened in 2022 that caused so many UFO spottings? Or is this just when the data was collected? I know it's a Kaggle data set. Um, Scanning the chat here. You should check out Matt and Matt are just chatting it up. I love that. Perfect. Um, I feel a little bit suspicious over the volume of UFO spottings in 2022. In fact, I'm just going to look up really quick. Uh, were there an abnormally large number of UFOs spottings in 2022? What does Gemini have to say about that? There was a sharp documented spike in reported UFOs, primarily driven by military personnel. Okay, sure. That's what they want you to believe. Rather than a sudden surge of extraterrestrial activity. Suspicious. That's all I'm saying. Um, okay. Maybe that'll be our story. Maybe we'll play around with the fact that in 2022, there was seemingly a sharp spike um, in UFO spottings. Extraterrestrial or not, we don't necessarily know. This is what I wanted to hit. So what happens if we take off our hour of spotting? These table calcs are going to break. Take this off. Let's make this a line chart. This does not go there. You go here. And okay, we've got some sort of a story here. And we could do something by state. We could do like a trellis chart, but I always make trellis charts. It's not a ton of fun. 2022, they were healing the world of COVID. I like that. The extraterrestrial life came down to help us recover from our trauma. Perfect. So, wow, 30 minutes in, and we've got a beautiful line chart. Now, we've done some exploring. This is how it usually goes. Um, Perfect. What do the different shapes look like if we add that on here? Is there a pattern where you grab my handy dandy trellis calculations? This is actually how I find my trellis calcs, by the way. I go to a blog post that I wrote because I don't have time to memorize these. I make a parameter, call this P columns. Maybe we want, I don't know, 4 columns. And then I can go and I can dump these 2 calcs into the side. Can take both of these and convert them to discrete and add calls to columns and rows to rows. And then I need to just fix the table calc. I should uncheck both, I believe. No, I think it's check both then. but it's breaking up our view because year is discrete. It would be cool if that was why it was breaking up our view. Oh, because this needs to be on detail. Year of date and count. Columns 1, 2, 3, and we've got 2019. Where's 2020? There's probably not enough records for this to be a viable approach. What if we switch this to like state? Mm, uncheck year. I just did that one. Uncheck year. This is causing a big mess because these table calcs are expecting data in each position. All right, forget this. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Pivot. Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What time of day were these 2022 spottings at? They pretty much follow the same general trend. We've got a slightly higher share. What if I make my percent of totals here based on we essentially want to do a percent of total for every year. So we can uncheck year of date. And interestingly, these aren't even sorted the way that I want them to be. We want early to be all the way over here, start of day to be here, afternoon, then evening. So we have in 2022 with all these allegedly not extraterrestrial spottings, we see a higher volume. What happened here? I updated the labels without the colors. Boom. 21% in the afternoon, 46% in the evening, 24% early in the morning. So this is interesting. So as I'm crafting a story in my head, what I'm thinking is, hey, in 2022, we see a spike of UFO spottings. From some of our background research now, we have a theory that that spike was driven by military personnel. And to support that theory, we do see a higher share of our spottings occurring before 8 a.m., so between midnight and 8 a.m., which presumably are the hours of the day that you would see military personnel aircrafts in the sky. Um, Gemini, quick Google search. Really using the AI tools to our advantage. If there were UFO spottings driven by military personnel, don't mind my spelling, um, what time of the day would those typically occur? Tell me, Gemini. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Peak hours, morning to late afternoon. Very interesting. All right, we've got 25 minutes. We're rolling with it. Let's set up a dashboard here first. Good old 1400 by 850 to match the size of the Tableau thumbnail. I always start with a vertical container. 1400 by 850. We will throw a title on there called title because we don't have time for that right now. Oops. Awesome. And maybe this is 150 pixels tall. Okay. And how do we want to storyboard this? I guess I can also throw a footer on there because we'll need to do that at some point. Perfect. Let's get a horizontal container here. and add some padding. Okay, so here's our canvas. We want to incorporate a line chart of sorts. I'll just call this my yearly trend of UFO spottings. Do, do, do. And this is still showing my percent, which we can probably change because for this chart, we would like counts. Are labels helpful here? Probably. Not when they're formatted as percentage points, though. Question mark? There we go. It's a little bit better. 16, 26, 2018, 942. Can we even amplify this by maybe putting like some circles on top of this line chart and putting size on that count? So if we were to do something like this, we can start to really emphasize the growth. And maybe these are our UFOs at the end of the day. Maybe I find a little shape that looks like a flying saucer. And that's what we have here. That would be kind of fun. Let's take this off from here and let's put it on these guys. 178, 19. Okay. I'm kind of thinking about like a comic style panel in here as we kind of progress through each piece. So thinking about kind of the hierarchy of how our eyes move, we kind of make that Z shape, or some people refer to the F shape, where you kind of go down the side on the left and across the top. I'm probably going to think more about that Z shape here and potentially do 3 panels to be determined. But I think this top corner is going to be my yearly trend. And we're going to say, hey, objectively, UFO spottings spiked in 2022. And then we're going to go into the time of day, which we might wordsmith how we want to show that. We might workshop it. I mean, perhaps we do what might be more useful. Instead of a heat map, what if we keep our hourly buckets, we put year on detail, and maybe we put this count on our rows and make these like circles. Maybe we put year on color instead. And I don't have a color palette in mind yet, but we'll start going green with it. 2019, 2020, 21. I don't know. You catch my drift here. We'll probably end up doing a highlight palette, something like this. And maybe these are barbell charts. Maybe, actually, that's exactly what's going to happen here. Everything that isn't 2022 is going to be light green. And then 2022 is going to be a dark green. We want that to be in front. Why did I make 2? Because I'm making a barbell. Make this a line and put our count field, not our count field, put our year field on path. Oops. Put you to detail. Put you on path. Make this a dual axis and synchronize. I don't need these labels here per se. I might only want labels for 2022. So whatever you want to make it. Okay. I've made these groups. What if I just go back to my hour field? Everything breaks because of table calcs. Let's duplicate this. Move this in. Edit this. Another coffee. It's Friday, though. 1 week before the 4th of July. Cool. So what do we see relative to the rest of the pack here? We're kind of in the middle, 2019. We start to see an increase in activity around the hour of 5 in the morning. Kind of dwindles again. And then we start to see some spikes later in the day for 2022. Okay, well, this kind of tells me a different story. There's too many numbers. I've got cognitive overload. Let me modify this and just say 2022 labels. And we'll say if our year field equals 2022, then this, and end it there. Make this whole thing a string. And then we have a problem because we cannot mix aggregates and non-aggregates. So if we make this an attribute, we are golden. I can put this on here. Format U as a percentage. What am I doing? Default whatever. I'll just, oh, it's because it's a string. Hee. Clean this up. Default properties, number format, percentage, 0 decimals. Okay, we're getting somewhere. These are big and obnoxious right now because I want them to be. 323 223 22 111122. I mean, yeah, this is just what happens when you spread your data out across 24 marks and do a percent of total as opposed to 4. You get percentage values that look a little bit more spread out. 18, 6, 16, 34. All right, we're going to stick with this. Perfect. And maybe this is also our green theme. We want our year of date on color here. And maybe you are light gray is fine. Okay, let's start building something. So I'm going to start by tossing a blank in here to help me make my shapes. First, let me fix the height of my header and footer. Throw a blank in. This is fine. Maybe make it peach colored for now. This is just to help with container fun. Now we want another horizontal container. Sure. To the side for now. Can I put you above? Perfect. So first off, we want our yearly trend. One more thing. Just float another vertical container and throw this out here to the side to catch all of our legends and whatnot. Boom. Yearly trend of UFO spottings. And then next to that, we're going to show this sheet, which is yearly spottings by time of day. We'll throw that over here. And then last but not least, I want something to suggest that it might not be all extraterrestrial. What is that going to be? Screenshot from Gemini. No, I'm just kidding. I could, in theory, go and grab like another data set that supports that narrative. I don't have time for that right now. So this might be um, what are aliens coming to? Uh, it's kind of a silly title. 2022 was 2022 a mm, was 2022 the big year for alien visits? Extra terre. How the heck do you spell extraterrestrial? Oh Lord. Thank you. I think I was going to be close. Was 2022 the biggest year? And because I like an emoji from time to time, I'm throwing alien in there. And we'll want to color encode this at some point. It's not the right color right now, but that's okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What percent increase is that? Um, Nearly 7 times. Is a funny word. Wait, what's Matt saying? Like, are there more Earth-like because they're extra? Extraterrestrial, like the word extra. You know what? That's a good point. They are extreme Earth-dwelling beings. That's a That's a funny word. In 2022, we saw a near 700% increase in UFO spottings year over year. Do. Um, Give me this container and let's distribute our contents evenly. We've got axes all over the place. Uh, the spike in spottings was not primarily occurred during the early morning before 8 a.m. And late in the evening after 7 p.m. What if we do um, I've got a thought, which is dangerous. Let's throw a text box in here. What if we do what if we did something like this? Throw a horizontal container in here. We want a text box saying what was my search telling me? just going to take this. That's not Gemini. That's Gemini. Tell me more about this. Why would it cause a spike in UFO spottings in 2022 relative to the other years, 2019 to 2023? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. 2022 annual report. Number of cataloged UAP incidents jumped. Destigmatization and formal mandates. Creation of RO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Interesting. Thank you, Ethan. Couldn't help but notice your early and start of day bucket descriptions overlap. It's probably an aliasing issue on my part. 163 were identified as balloon. Okay, this is not helping me. This is the best thing that I've got right now. Give me this. We'll edit this in a moment. I can get rid of this blank now. We can distribute these evenly for the time being. Okay, bear with me here. There's basically going to be a floating box over the top of the bottom here that says, were these spottings, I'm kind of just having fun with it now, truly aliens? And then click to find out. And then when they click, that box will disappear and we will reveal our text box that says something like, probably not. In 2022, there was a sharp spike in UFO reportings thanks to a. Tell me more about this really quick. So this is essentially, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is like the military being forced to report more things they see in the sky. A modern government and scientific term for, okay, well, that's not exactly what I meant to copy. This is kind of looking for. Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act. Annually to set policy and authorize funding levels. Okay, interesting. 5 minutes, gotta go. 2022, there was a sharp spike in UFO reportings thanks to an increase in military reports of, what do they call it? Sure. Or so they say with the alien emoji. Cool. Take this. So there's that. Then I need a do this. Add a show hide button. Edit button. When the item is shown, we want our button to be transparent. Nice. I'm going to lose my button. Make it a little bit bigger. There's so much cleanup to be done. Grr. No, where did my show hide button go? This is what I was afraid of. Show hide. There it is. This is too low though. Give everything some breathing room. Da, 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 da. One to 6, 7 to 11. So I'll just call this, it's before 8 a.m., but we should be more specific. 12 a.m. to 7 a.m. Cool. Does this work? I'm able to move this, right? And then, no, I'm not. Okay. Ooh, I'm curious what's going on in the chat here. Interesting find on the data source, New Fork. They launched a new website December 30th, 2021, and completed a migration to their new site. That's interesting too. There's layers to this one. I'm at time, so I definitely just gonna run with it. But I'm probably going to finish this up here over the next few minutes. I know it's 9 o'clock though, so if you joined today, thank you for coming along. Hopefully, we can make some cool stuff in the future. But yeah, it's been a great turnout. So thank you all for hopping on. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna stay live here while I wrap up some formatting things, but yeah, that'll do it. Probably not. Is this text box? Let's make our outer padding bigger. Do, do, do. You know what might make this pop is if this is going to be a bit of rework, but if we format our dashboard and we make our background something black, make all of this white. I could go on and on with the formatting side of Tableau. I don't actually mind row grid lines here if we do them nice and faint. I don't think that's too bad. Ticks. Mm, Probably not. Got tick marks. do. Nice. All right, that'll do it. If you came and stayed for the formatting, shout out to you. Uh, but yeah, I think we are at the end of the road for real this time. So perfect. Only 7 minutes over. Don't mind me. Let's go ahead and save this to Tableau Public. Let's go ahead and save this to Tableau Public. Uh, Aliens in 2022. And we are there. Perfect. That is everything that I've got. Thank you again for tuning in. See you next week.